Hi, I'm Dr. Janice Jackson, and I'd like to share with you some of the amazing features of the DEL, the Diagnostic Evaluation of Language Variation. One of the things that I like most about the DEL is that it was designed in conjunction with cognitive scientists, linguists, and speech language pathologists. And it's designed to look at more subtle features and aspects of language impairment. So when I'm trying to determine if a language impairment is present, it often gives me great information about the more subtle areas and features of an impairment. The DELF is comprised of three subtests, one for syntax, one examining semantics, and a third that looks at pragmatics. Just to give you an idea, we often, as clinicians, work on things like WH questions, but we've also had the experience very often where we have a student who can respond to basic WH questions such as, who ate the sandwich, or where is Mary? And yet, our instinct tells us there's still a problem. The teacher tells us that there are still issues with the child comprehending or responding appropriately to questions. So for instance, using information from linguists, the DEL was designed to look at WH questions in a more specific and detailed manner. For instance, this foil here, a child would be asked, this father and this baby were having lunch together. Who ate what? Now that's a very different type of question. And it tells us, at least how the child responds, tells us a lot about his comprehension, not only of the WH question, but his ability to understand more complex sentence structure. A child who's doing well will respond and understand that he has to give you a response that involves both who's, the dad and the baby, and both what's, the apple and the banana. As in, the dad ate the apple and the baby ate the banana. But children who are struggling with syntax and sentence structure might often answer the apple and the banana, or the dad and the baby, and sometimes we even get an apple. This tells me a lot more than a basic WH, who ate the sandwich. Let me show you another way that the DELF looks more deeply at language understanding. In the semantic subtest, a child might be probed for his understanding of quantifiers. So shown a picture like this, you might ask the student, is every man riding a horse? Pretty simple, right? And we'll also ask why or why not. So is every man riding a horse? No. Why not? Well, this man doesn't have a horse. And that's very often the way we would typically ask the question in therapy. However, we go a step further. So in the DEL, a student might also see a question like this. Is every dog eating a bone? Now, if a student actually understands quantifiers, of course, the answer is going to be, yes, every dog is eating a bone. But you might be surprised to find that children that are struggling with their language development, I very often have children that when I ask, is every dog eating a bone? They say no. Why? Because the rabbit's eating a carrot. That response gives me a lot more detail about the inner workings of the child's understanding both of sentence structure and meaning. If a child says no because the rabbit's eating a bone, I now understand that although he understands somewhat a quantifier of every, he doesn't know where to apply the every. He's applied the every to every animal and every animal eating, but not just to every dog. So that's what I mean when I say that the DELF looks at language in a much more detailed and much more informational way. Let me show you one more. I really like the fast mapping section in the semantic subtest. As a clinician, we always want to know about a student's vocabulary, especially a student suspected of having a language impairment. However, most of our standard vocabulary batteries simply tell us what words of a preset core vocabulary a child can identify. This goes much deeper and looks at how children acquire word meaning. How quickly can they fast map information about a word? Because after all, knowing a word is more than just knowing and being able to identify it. Knowing a word means that you understand how it works in a sentence, if it's a noun or if it's a verb, and how it works. So a student might see a picture like this and be told, this boy is pouring the juice. Here are some things in the picture I want you to show me. Show me, or here's a question, which one was the pourer? Which one got poured? Which one did he pour the juice into? That one's actually a foil. But do you see the difference? To answer those questions, you have to understand what can be an agent, what's the action, what can be a recipient. And to take it a step further, a little further on, the Dell actually has a section where this is done with non-words. So for instance, with non-words, you do the same thing. So a child might see something like this and be told, I'm gonna make up some words, but I bet you can figure out what the words mean. The girl is zanning the apple to the clown. Here's some things in the pictures. I want you to show me which one was the zanner. Which one got zanned? Which one is zannable? Now, when you can answer that, you actually know the word. And this is not biased by socioeconomic status. It's not biased by exposure, because of course the word doesn't exist. But good SLPs know that words are arbitrary. So this is one way to really get at how a child is acquiring vocabulary, as opposed to just checking what words he's been exposed to. And that is very beneficial when I'm trying to identify the presence of a language impairment.